broadcasting to the Northeast MX, both the pages, because I haven't got them to merge yet. So, and the more I do on that, the more it's right. I think Facebook is giving the middle finger for, I think, going against their system, because if you look into it, you know what I did.
Oh yeah. I should be able to share out that link now, huh?
Yeah, it should be up momentarily here right now. Yep, it's up. It's up right now.
There it is. Yep. Let's what we gotta do. Let's do our stuff. Were you on the Old Men page?
I did cross it. I cross-posted to the page. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Just not the groups. Yep. Cool, I always hit the pages from here. Yep.
Okay, we're up there. Share it tonight.
It is much quicker from the phone than the PC or the.
Oh yeah.
You remember your iPad today?
I did. I did. Watching the numbers jump.
Until about 12.
Nice.
All right, so we give this another minute or two, guys, and we'll kick it off.
Gary Frank already let the show begin. All right, guys, we're almost there.
Yep, just about another minute or two here. We'll be all set.
My brother's on.
Hank.
Hey, Facebook wants me to say something, so Northeast MX knows I'm here.
I bet you they do.
Dave, I'm here. Hey, Marie's watching.
I know you're here.
Brian Burr. Hey, Brian Burr, how are you?
All right, let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and get this ready to go.
Did you find the intro?
Yeah.
All right.
Intro's going.
Soft puppets on my screen. It's going to be one of those shows.
It's going to be one of those nights. I can already see it's coming off the rails.
Oh, the comments are going to be crazy. Wow. With John, too. John's awesome.
All right, guys, here we are, back live, episode 21. Back in the studio, too. We get the green screen back. I know people were complaining we didn't have it the last few weeks.
Well, it's kind of, you know what, I'm going to have to
get... I've been on the road.
You've been on the road. You've been doing home projects and stuff like that. And,
yes.
I think what we'll have to do is I'll have to get one of those, like, big old projector screens and make it a green screen. So I just put it out behind me at home.
I've actually had some ideas where we can do portable green screening. So
that would be cool.
I will take that. I've got some ideas. We can use Zoom, and we could do some portable green screening. So I
think it would be easier to do that than it would be to actually wheel the KX into the living room. We could just put. It wouldn't be as cool.
Why isn't it here tonight? Why isn't the bike here tonight?
You know, that's a good point.
I could have easily put a remote camera out in the parking lot, or even just.
We would have just wheeled it in. We would have just wheeled it in. Just kind of flipped it to the side.
I'm disappointed. I am disappointed.
Marie's giving me the. We could have.
She's calling you number one.
She always does. Always.
Why I didn't even think of that. Why is the bike not here?
I didn't think of it either. I was rushing out the door. It should be here.
What do you have to worry about? I prep for the show. All you just show up. You do the show nights. You did this at work today.
I know, and I had to photocopy it because I only had one copy.
We can put the show on hold. Go get the bike. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Soon. Well, some people have seen it. Some people I've had it out at the track. So
we've already got comments rolling. Look, people like John Jacob White, he wants sock puppets. No, Brian Burr wants sock puppets.
Sock puppets.
Bad. Oh yeah, Gary Franco, he's already all over the show.
Stephen Ellis is on.
Oh yeah. So you guys have missed us, huh? So hey, listen, the show got canceled, by the way. Well, wait a minute. Can we cancel ourselves?
We probably not. we didn't get our syndication.
No, we're not syndicated yet.
All right, so let's.
All right, let's get into some of the good stuff. All right,
let's kick it off. So the Nationals this weekend visited probably the most scenic track on the whole circuit.
I agree with
Washougal.
that. I've never been there myself, but I heard it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and just watching the videos and stuff, there was some really cool stuff. They put in that gigantic jump. I want to call it a jump. There was a lot of sand after it. But...
Hey, good news. John Slater connected. I can see his remote video now.
So he's on.
I see him. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I went in. I had to get rid of the cookies.
There you go.
All right, John.
Cool.
Well, listen, we're going to pull you in about 20 minutes, so you sit tight. All right, bud?
All right, brother. I'm going to go grab something to drink then.
There you go.
All right, guys. We're going to have John Slater in about the halfway mark here, and we're going to pull him in via remote video.
Nice. All right. So Tomac, of course, up at Washougal. Tomac ended up charging to the win in both motos from mid-pack starts, too. I mean,
Yes.
he was back. I kept listening to Weege talk about how this is not a Tomac track.
Right.
This is not a Tomac track. Well, Tomac, I think, proved him wrong. Sorry, Weege. Tomac proved you wrong.
I'm going to tell you, I'm upset that I didn't stick with Roxon because he came in. He had two great motos.
Two great motos,
He
and
did,
he was
solid.
he was moving.
And we were like, he's all done.
He ended up going 2-3, and Muscan took him in the second.
But solid motos though. Just
he was
very consistent.
He was on it. I mean, you could see it was great watching both Roxon and Tomac go at it.
Yep.
And the different styles. You know, Tomac where he's just brutal and just attacks everything, and Roxon's, you know, he's like a doctor. He kind of picks things apart and finesses his way through. But it was just awesome.
John Jacob says Washougal is definitely a bucket list track. I can agree. Yeah, I've never been there, but the pitches are
You know what? Our buddy Brian Croft from the Dealership Fix It podcast, he lives out in Oregon.
Does he?
He says if we ever get out there and we go to Washougal
next year,
we need to call him.
Although
because he's going to come meet us.
Southern Cal, so that's a 15-hour drive up. But yes.
Oh yeah. So anyway, 450 class, of course. That's that was the big thing was the battles there. I guess Muscan and Webb and Anderson got into it, mixing back and forth and battling. They had some good rides.
They did.
A couple people went down. Tomac and Roxon got together there in that first moto. Right at the end of the last lap, I think it was just a matter of lines coming together. It didn't look like anything dirty.
No.
Neither one of them really ride like that, especially with each other. They don't ride like that. So 250 class, Ferrandis, I believe Ferrandis took both motos. And
yes,
Frenchman. And seeing Cerullo, he was second overall. I think he was 2-2, maybe 3-2. I'm not sure on his exact finishes, but I know he was second overall.
Yes.
It doesn't tell the story. It doesn't tell the story of, a couple bike lengths at the end. I mean, he just launched it. Yeah. He launched it at the end of that first moto.
You know who else we got to get on the show? And I'm personal friends with him is Stefan Rancata.
So there
he's
you
a big online gamer.
And he's a gamer.
And that's how I know him is through gaming. And we chat every, 3 or 4 months. We keep in touch. So he'd be a cool guy to have on.
You're going to have to line him up.
I can line him up. I can definitely line him up.
So anyway, in the 250 class, I do want to throw a big shout out to, I think it's Michael Mosman. He ended up at a third in the second moto. And from what everybody was saying, that was his best moto to date. So good stuff for him.
It is good stuff. Yep.
Our national boys, they're off this week due to Loretta Lynn's.
That's right.
And Unadilla's the next round in 2 weeks, which we'll be there. I'll be there. I don't know if you're going to make it.
I'm going to attempt to. I'm still reeling from 6 weeks of nothing but straight.
Yeah. I'm going to be there. If anybody can get me a pit pass, I gladly take a couple. My friend and Dan Leclerc and myself are going to be making the trip out. And then on the way back, we're actually going to stop and camp out at Echo Valley Motocross.
Keith Taylor, he wants to know thoughts about the FIM and Christian Craig. We're
going to talk about that in a couple minutes.
Keith Taylor, we will be addressing that in just a few moments.
So, Unadilla, and then the next day, Echo Valley Motocross, which is out in Coyman's Hollow, New York. We're going to get out there. We're going to ride. We're going to have a Northeast Riders Reunion track day. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Derby's. I already told the wife today. Derby is on my hit list.
Derby's August 17th.
You've never been, which I still can't wrap my head around the fact that you've motoed for easily a decade longer than I have. How have you not been to Derby?
Because I took a decade off. I actually had,
and that's how we missed each other.
I met Danny Stewart at MX207 this weekend. And he's like, hey, he goes, you took some time off, huh? And I'm like, yep, nobody knows me. So
I wouldn't say that.
Well, they do
We're
now.
Facebook famous. We've talked about this.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up the nationals. In the MXGP over in the Czech Republic, Fevra went 1-1 and beat Tim Geister. And then Prado took both motos in the 250s or MX2 class. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, so I don't really know what the conditions were like.
I saw my DVR.
The track looked pretty cool. I know I posted something about the track. It looked great to have an outdoor track.
All those tracks are cool on the pond.
Mm-hmm. So On the local scene, Winchester. Winchester, the 450 Pro A class. Chris Canning, Brandon Gregoire, Seth Nicolo took it. In the 250 Pro A class, Chris Canning, Connor Sheridan, and James Harrington took that. I don't have too many more notes on the rest of it. So if anybody wants to, shout out to an inspiring ride or people that are noteworthy, put them in the comments. And,
we'll talk about them.
And as I said, every week, send me something. If you were at the event, let me know, and we'll mention it, which I'm going to talk about something in a moment on the J-Day side. J-Day, they were up at Heeman's this weekend. They had their big summer weekend, I believe they call it. On Saturday, it was the regular Grand Prix format, and Sunday was their first attempt at a hare scrambles. So on Saturday, let's see, top three were Ben Kelly, Simon Johnson, and Bubs Tasha. I do want to throw a special shout out to my cousin, Kurt White. He's a ZR throttle pilot, and he's also a brand new dad. He took a 6th overall with 8.6 moto.
Speaking of ZR throttle, I saw the post that Tom's going to shop.
He does. He does. We're going to have to do a remote broadcast at a Tom Erdman shop.
Where is that? What town?
I believe it's in Bellingham.
So he didn't go south.
He did not go south.
So Bellingham's
here.
close. So yeah, we'll be doing that. We'll show up, and it'll be cool.
Oh yeah, and also with the J-Day weekend, Nick Batten and the Jones Bro Riders put on their best whip contest. That came together at last second. We had Nick as our guest last week.
Yep.
He talked about some of the stuff going on with that. They had some pit bike racing, and they had a big sponsor that was on board with them. I hope I pronounce it right. It's Akavi CBD for CBD oils and products. They have a website coming up soon, and I can tell you, I've tried it, and it really works with some of the old arthritic bones. They really want to get involved in motocross up here in the Northeast. And they did mention that they're going to be offering a 20% discount or planned 20% discount for the moto community. So that's going to be coming up soon. We'll share the link as soon as it becomes available and goes live. On the J Days, when I asked for a little bit of input, Garrett Sullivan reached out to me. He said he would like to mention his brother, Devin. Devin and he both raced in the 250B class, and the results don't really show it, but Devin put in a good charge at the GP. His sister Rachel, she raced the hare scramble on Sunday after not racing for a couple of months, even on a bike. He said she didn't ride at all. She finished 4th in a 1.5-hour race. That's pretty crazy for not being on the bike for a while. And he said the last guy that impressed him the most, Joey Muse. He started riding 2 months ago, borrowed a bike from a friend, and he rode for about an hour. Then he raced the next week at the Plainfield, Connecticut J-Day GP.
Yep.
Got hooked on it again, bought his own bike, and raced the following weekend at Crow Hill. So
Jim's fault, you think?
I don't know if I'm going to say it's Garrett's fault.
All right. Okay.
I'm going to say that one's Garrett's fault. But it's pretty cool that how you can be away from it, or even not riding for years and years and years, and just grab a bike and you get hooked. It's in your blood. It doesn't go away.
Yep.
Moving on to Netra. Netra was out at Paradox MX in New York. It's a place that I really would like to go ride. That place looks beautiful. They didn't do so much of a woods ride. They did more of like a motocross type format with the longer races.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cordana took the win. Brendan Reardon was second, and Jason Clemmer, he rounded out the top 3. Sean Levesque, our old buddy and Netra contributor, he was there. He says it was hot. But it was fun. I think the Woods guys really liked doing some of the motocross events, and I think he finished like 24th overall. But still, that's a 50-year-old guy in the AA class.
Doing all right. I guess I think probably New England. I think must be the strongest old guy class. Think about it. I mean, it's amazing how deep the 50+ is.
Well, we were just, that was the next thing on my list. Loretta Lynn's. Loretta Lynn's. Speaking of Loretta Lynn's. Local 50-year-old hot guy, hot shoe, you want to call him, Rashad the Rocket.
Yeah.
He went down there, and I know today was his first 50+ Masters moto. He's riding his 125 in the 50 class. And
we're gonna get him on. We're gonna get Todd on.
Next week.
Okay.
Well, I told him we'll get him on next week so he can recap his Loretta experiences. Definitely. But he told me about the track yesterday, and he said that it's unlike anything he's ever ridden before. The dirt's soft. It gets ruts. The ruts will go up to your levers sometimes. They will catch your levers. They're so deep. And he says
Southwest like that.
Yeah, but the difference is there's a lot of small bikes So he says the ruts tend to be a lot harder to ride on a full-size motorcycle because there's so many small bikes there, as if you were at Southwick or you were at Unadilla or a track that we're accustomed to riding on big bikes.
Right.
He's actually parked next to a guy from Oklahoma, and the guy from Oklahoma said the same thing. He says, this is unlike anything I've ever ridden.
Wow.
And so
that's really cool.
They had practice all day yesterday.
I saw what they check out. His track looks awesome.
I know, doesn't it? It's a blast.
So you gotta get some video.
I'll get out there. We'll get out there and get some riding in. But so he told me the races started today, and I watched a little bit. You can watch it on Racer. I think it's Racer TV.
Racer TV is live.
They're doing live on Facebook. I actually got to tune in and watch part of his first moto. He finished 9th in the Masters class on his 125. I hope he was riding his 125 today. I think that's what he qualified on. He's riding his 450 in the 45 class. I didn't see that moto, but I mean, Earl May finished 5th, and
wow.
Yeah.
John Grew, I think it's Grews. He ended up winning the class, and he's going after his 4th Masters championship down there. So either way, I mean, it's going to be a great week, and looking forward to hearing more about it and seeing some of the posts and the updates. And we'll try to get Todd next week and maybe talk about his experiences and stuff down there. Now to the controversial subject, Christian Craig.
Yes.
I saw the post. I didn't even know that he tested positive for whatever. He said he doesn't know where he got it.
Vaguely before I heard something about it. So.
They said it could be in energy drinks, and Daytona 2018, they tested a sample, and they didn't notify him until January of 2019. Yeah. What the hell?
Crazy.
That's just plain nuts.
It is. And
then they took until now to make a ruling on his suspension.
Yeah. He
can race again in March of 2020. That's crazy, but I mean, just the fact that they take so much time. Look what they did to Brock Tickle. They're ruining guys' careers.
Oh, I completely agree.
And
how short are the careers anyway? And you're going to take over a year, 18 months out of that career. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you got about 6-7 years, give or take.
And now here's the thing. You're taking guys that are middle of the pack, of a questionable calls, and they're not racing. You're in that time of year when people get hurt and they're looking for fill-in riders, but that middle class of riders is weaning. I mean, you got the fast guys that are capable of winning up front, and then you got the guys that maybe can run some of their speed for some of the motos. Those are the guys that they need for fill-in rides. Look at Freddie Noren. Look what happened to Freddie Noren when he jumped onto that factory bike. Right. I mean, I think he finished 8th this weekend. That's awesome.
I think you're right.
But you start taking these guys that are a little bit older and suspend them like that, and they're all done.
Yeah. I'd like to hear some comments. Yeah, if you guys got any opinions on this, post them up. I like this.
There's been a lot of people asking and mentioning today that we should mention in the show. So we did. Let's hear your views. Try to keep it somewhat clean.
Yes.
I think most of us agree that
we have PG-13 show, except when we go on 2-hour specials. And that's when the wheels came off the bus.
Yeah.
By the way, still one of our best episodes yet.
We might have to consider this and start going with the X-rated versions.
It was just like it was like a hazing episode.
Great. It was great. But anyway, I mean, it's just one of them things. Like maybe the sanctioning bodies. Yeah, you got to have a sanctioning body. Maybe it's time for them to review their policies. It's time to review the lists of banned substances. I mean, if they're in stuff that you can buy over the counter, it's up to the rider to know what he's taking and putting in his body and talk to his doctor.
Yeah, but if it's over the counter,
it's over the counter.
That's
right. It is what it is. I think it's time to review the rules if they're going to stay in play. If not, then hey, let's hear from you guys.
Exactly.
All right. So this weekend, upcoming, NESC is running up at New Hampshire Motocross. That's always a good time, good track. Tony does a great job up there. Netra is running out in Cheshire. They got the vintage and Pee-wees on Saturday and a hare scramble on Sunday. Maine Motocross, they're running up at Hemans on Saturday. I got to throw a shout out to Matt Tulinus. I think that I pronounced your name correct. He runs the Maine Motocross series, and he came down to MX207 with us for our ride day this weekend, and I got to chat with him for a while. It's always great to talk to some of those guys.
He says, like McGrath said, he said, dump the FIM. What the hell are they doing in being involved in US motocross?
There you go.
Point. That is a very valid point.
That's a very valid point.
John, I agree with that. That's a good statement right there. Why are they involved in US motocross? Doesn't make any sense.
So continuing on with the weekend, ACR is running at the WIC 338 MX on Saturday, and they actually have a practice on Friday scheduled. So double check their Facebook page to make sure everything's still running. I know last year they struggled a little bit because the track washed away and they had to cancel some of the events.
Yeah, got a little hairy.
WSP, they're running at Winchester on Saturday. VMA is at Ryder Hill on Sunday, and MSC is running at Claverack this weekend. And as I mentioned before, the Unadilla National is August 10th. The MXGP series this weekend goes to Lamel in Belgium. So, I mean, that's an iconic track. It ought to be a good round. And we have our next ride day, like I mentioned earlier, at Echo Valley the day after. It's camping's allowed if you want to camp on Friday night there, then leave everything there, drive out to the National, watch the National, come back and stay and ride with us on Sunday. Go for it. I mean, I can't make it out there until Saturday. I'm going to leave early Saturday morning, drive out to Unadilla with the truck and trailer, and then head back and camp at Echo myself. But we'll be there on Saturday night.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm still up in the air. I'm going to see what my plans are. So
yeah. So it should be pretty good. I mean, hey, look at that. We're just hitting our time slot.
What do you say? We're right on.
We want to bring
Mr. John Slater on.
Our special guest, John Slater from Slaterskins.
Am I on?
You are Dave. Dave, the producer, is pressing the buttons, and he's bringing you live with us, side by sides.
Wow.
I know, right?
All right. We've got Mr. John Slater with us now. We brought him in by a remote feed. This is a new feature in the software, which is pretty cool. So, you hear us okay, John? Does the audio sound okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, good. We're good on our end too, so we're good. So.
Hey, the best part about this is nobody needs earbuds or headphones.
This is true. No earbuds, no headphones. Exactly.
There's John.
The ratio is a little off. He's oblong, but that's fine. So, and John, I apologize. I grabbed one of your blue bikes, not one of the new Dyno Liners machines, but that's okay.
No, I like that. It looks good up on the back screen there.
You like that?
Yeah, that was in Atlanta, and Jim Holly interviewed me right there.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, that was neat, man. That was a cool experience right there.
Nice.
That is so cool. So like to start things off, let's start your background. When and where did you start riding and racing, John?
See, my first race was 1975 in South Cairo, New York. I was on a YZ80, 1975 YZ80.
How's that possible, John? You're like 35 years old, man. Jeez, what the hell?
Well, I'm taking the same stuff Christian Craig's taking.
Nice.
he was looking for the youth drug, and that's what he grabbed instead.
That's right. The secret sauce.
Secret sauce, you know. And so I grew up riding in MSC. My dad was a member of Milford Riders back in the 60s and early 70s, and my brother and I used to go out to Milford Riders when we were little boys, and then. So we started out there. So we ended up going over to District 34. That's mainly where we rode.
Right.
Yeah, it was cool. So the 70s for all of us, you know, Jim and whatever. The 70s was, I think, like the golden era of moto. Personally.
No, see, I'm a 90s guy. You know, I get this.
Yeah, no, 90s was good. No doubt about it. But, you know, I remember my dad brought us to Southwick in 76 for the first national. And I met Bob Hanna, you know, freaking Pierre Karsmacher and Mark Robillard. I think he won the support class, the 500 support class. And then, then that same year we went to Unadilla in October in 76. And oh man, what an experience that was for.
How old were you then? 76? Old enough to remember, obviously.
11.
11. Probably, you know, I'm going to say an 11-year-old probably shouldn't have been at that event.
Oh my God, it was great. What are you kidding me, man? It was great. It shaped me to who I am today.
All right, I'm not going to disagree with that.
It shaped me.
John, I miss you, buddy, man. I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm going to make my way down to Connecticut soon.
Oh my God, we had some good times. You guys coming down to the club, hanging out.
Oh, big time. Yep.
Yeah, that was good. And then you guys started the NEMX. That was awesome.
We did. We ran that for 3 or 4 years, and then unfortunately, fortunately, I then started a family, and time became very thin. And you know, now I've got 3 daughters, and they're getting older now, and that's what got me back into motocross. I have time, and it's kind of Jim's fault.
It seems to be going around.
So,
Yeah. So anywho, yeah, we raced all through the 70s, and then probably like early 80s, high school era, I kind of stopped for a while, did a lot of partying, realized, man, this ain't good. So I went back to riding, back
yeah.
in like 84, 85. And then I became president of Milford Riders, kind of took the club. If it wasn't for me, the club probably wouldn't be existing today, because we had no money to pay the bills. We didn't have money for taxes. So we were taking money out of our pocket to pay the taxes. And all the old timers, they were fading away. So we had a flat track out there that, quite frankly, wasn't doing much. And my dad was in construction. I was in construction. So we ended up getting some dozers and stuff. And next thing you know, that flat track went away, and those old timers wanted to kill me.
Yeah, and it's such a cool place. I mean, for those that haven't been to a Milford Riders Club, it's a unique piece of property. Right under the power lines. It's at the end of the industrial park there, right?
Oh yeah, and it's a goof because it's when we were there since the 60s, actually before the 60s. But then they developed around us, but they didn't put a buffer in between residential to the heavy industrial.
Oh.
So, people buy houses and stuff, like buying a house near an airport,
Yep. Yep.
So we weathered that storm, but we're good now. We weathered it, and it's a great, and the cool thing is 15 minutes from my house. That's what's super cool.
Yeah, and I used to work. I worked in New Haven about 7-8 years ago, but I wasn't racing then. I'm like, geez, I almost thought about reaching out to you, John, and saying, hey, I should grab a bike and go ride Milford, but I didn't have the time.
Yeah, no, I could have come down and hung out.
I know, it's true. That's true.
Yeah, so then I started racing. I got my Pro-Am license and started doing some nationals, doing Unadilla. Never qualified. Southwick, my arch nemesis, Wendell Giles. I don't know if you guys know Wendell, but he was like Rubber Man. He was fast, too, up in district. And, boy, he took me out twice up at Southwick for the national. But it's all good. And then I ended up qualifying for the 92 GP at Unadilla.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, and what's cool about that was back in 76, I said to myself, I'm going to race this track one day. And sure and shit, I ended up doing it, and I qualified. I sent some people home. So, hey, I was never the fastest, but I was never the slowest either.
Do you still talk to yourself in third party?
What's that?
You still talk to yourself in a third party? Do you say like
absolutely. That's how I argue with myself all the time.
I like it.
John, don't change, buddy. Whatever you do, don't change.
So, hey, I beat Donnie Schmidt the first moto.
No,
that's cool.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Hey, he got hurt in practice, had to go to the hospital, but I don't care.
You just ruined it. You just ruined it.
Your name is still in front of his in the standings.
That's right.
Hey, a win's a win,
That's right.
I hear you.
That's right.
So, how'd you get involved with plastics?
Yes, I actually don't know the history of that myself.
Well, it was a goof. I was president of Milford Riders, and my buddy Kevin McCarthy, he owns Mind Effects now. He does that Mind Effects drink.
Yep.
He came down the club, and we brought a friend of his, Kenny Wendell. He brought Dave McLean. Dave McLean was a top guy in district, and he was a top 500 guy. He actually beat Bailey and Glover once or twice in a moto and stuff like that. So anywho, he came down. And Kevin showed me these pictures of a friend of his that built these full body panels out in California. I'm like, dude, this is cool, man. So I was like, I want to become an East Coast distributor. Make a long story short, I ended up moving out. Well, went out to California, met with Rick, and I ended up staying there. And I lived with his house, his family. I didn't know these people from Adam. I just moved in, and I'm like, this is too cool of an opportunity not to grab. So that was back in 93. So 92, I rode the GP. 93, I moved out to Cali. And, oh, my God, dude, it was freaking awesome. We ended up making the molds for the Honda 250s. And then we went out to – Rick and I were cruising around Corona, and we cruised by the Pro Circuit shop. And in the back, I think it was called Wild Turkey Circle or some shit like that. And we cruised around back, and I see this dude on a 10-speed bicycle. So come to find out, it's Jody Weisel from Motocross Action.
No
Action.
way. Oh, that's cool. That's
Right?
cool.
So we had the panels in the van, right?
Yeah.
So we stop and we see Jody and we're showing him the panels. And he's like, oh my God. Next thing you know, Mitch comes out and we're sitting around, and it was Mitch's, it was Pro Circuits race shop. So we're sitting around, we're talking, and Jody's like, hey, whenever you guys want to do something, let us know. So, Rick, we're like, all right, cool. Thanks a lot, blah, blah, blah. So we get back and we're all jazzed up, right? Wow, we just met Jody and blah, 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 right? And he was so cool. Jody was so cool, man. So a couple days later, and he said, listen, once you decide to do this thing's going to blow way open, so you better be prepared. So we go back and we're thinking about it. So I call him up like a few days later. I say, hey, we want to do something. He goes, all right, meet us out at what track did we go to? I don't know. It might have been Paris or one of them tracks. I forget now. And he had Jamie Dobbs, and we did the bike up. We did motocross action bike. Roger DeCoster's there, man. Now, Roger had just left Honda, and he was working for Dirt Bike Magazine as an editor.
Oh, boy.
So
Yeah.
we're driving down to 15, right? And I see this guy's driving, and he's got a Ford window van. He's just cruising. When I'm looking, I was like, yo, I think that's DeCoster.
Oh,
So
no.
I say, hey, pull up alongside of him, right? So I roll the window down. I take the skin, right? It was called Rhino Moto Skin. So I take the skin, I throw it out the window, and the wind catches it. And it freaking thing was like a kite, right? So I'm holding on to it. Scared the shit out of Roger. He's like, what the frick's going on, right? Then he starts cracking up. So starts laughing, he waves and stuff. We get to the track, and so we all, we do the test shoot. Jody was cool enough, put us on the cover of the magazine. We had a huge spread. Next thing you know, Sylvan Gabors from Team Suzuki's calling us. Fox Racing's calling us. We're cutting deals with all these guys. But the dude, Rick, he was sick. He had cancer, and he wasn't doing well. And that kind of all just kind of faded away. We hit so big, we weren't able to handle the load. But I mean, it was cool. And the sucky part, my dad had gotten cancer, so I ended up moving back to Connecticut. And then I was like, well, I'm going to keep this thing going. So that's why I did the Slaterskins. And then back in 2000 or 99 or whatever. In the meantime, there's so much to that story that's going on. I got to tell you this quick story. When we had this shop down in Temecula, and down the street was an old motocross track, and it was abandoned. So I used to ride right there. So Kevin puts this thing together with Roger. Roger shows up down the shop. So me and him go riding, just Roger and myself go riding. And I cut this track, and it was very old school European track. And he was testing a Husselberg 305, I think it was, kind of an iron, and I had a 94 CR250. And man, dude, I'm riding with Roger, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm riding with Roger DeCoster. And there was this one section I put in. It was a downhill to a first gear off camera, and I kept hitting his back wheel, boom, 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 right? But I couldn't pass him. So next thing you know, he pulls off, and he's watching me come down this hill where I was hitting his back tire, and I'm like, look at me go! Here's my ticket out of the ghetto, right? Next thing you know, I come down, I freaking stall. He just starts the bike up and pulls away. I know. I'm like, son of a, man. But hey, you know what? I rode with Roger. How cool was that?
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Oh, there's so many cool stories. Willie Musgrave and all that kind of good stuff. But so anyhow, I got back, and in the meantime, when I was out there, I met Metzger. I used to hang out with Mike Metzger all the time.
I remember that. I remember that.
So I remember riding with Metzger out in the canyons. And he says to me, Slate, I'm like, what? He goes, look, I think I could jump this. I'm like, jump what? What are you talking about?
You don't see it?
Yeah, right. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, from here to there. I'm like, there's no way, dude. And he's on a 125 RM. Next thing you know, man, he's fifth gear pin. I'm like, I would never have ever thought to do that, So fast forward, I get moved back to Connecticut, and then I make the skins, and then I end up sponsoring Metzger. And then I end up sponsoring Twitch, and then Kenny Bartram, Trevor Vines.
Bartram, there's no name.
Yep.
Yeah, remember Kenny?
Yeah.
And then we're at the Gravity Games where Carey Hart does his backflip, right?
We were there.
we were there.
I was at that show. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gravity and Providence. Yeah.
Metzger was there, so we were doing all that. And then I met the dudes from Sobe because they were sponsoring Andy McDonald.
That's right.
Yeah. Skateboarder.
And then those guys, I didn't know it, but they were in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Yep.
So, right? That whole thing just kind of materialized, It was super cool. So then Roger calls me up. Not Roger. Jody Wiesel calls me up in like 94. He goes, hey, you need to talk to Larry Brooks. I'm like, okay, because McGrath is looking for a sponsor.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So I'm walking through the halls of Sobe, and I walked down the hall, and this one dude, Dave, he was the head of marketing. I look in there, and he's got the hood of a NASCAR in there. So I was like, hey, what's this all about? He goes, Kyle Busch, or I don't know, it's one of the NASCAR guys. He's like, yeah, they want us to sponsor him. I'm like, really? So I was like, hey, I got something for you. Right? So I told him about McGrath and, and all this kind of stuff. He goes, all right, cool. So I put this package together, and I sold Jeremy McGrath to Sobe Beverage Company.
That's awesome.
Right? So, it gets better. So we're getting ready to put this deal together, right? So we fly out there to put the deal together, and Jeremy's lawyer, and I'm with Larry Brooks. Jeremy's attorney says, we're not going to do the deal. Jeremy's going KTM Bud Light. I'm like, dude, what? Just flew 3,000 miles. You couldn't have told us this in the meantime, right? So that shit went sour. So then I'm like, oh, man, what the frig, So with that, like the next day I get back, I'm all bummed. Like, man, what am I going to do? Well, Jeff Serwall calls me up. He goes, dude, I got the rights to sell Suzuki. I'm like, well, all right, let me bring this one over.
Now we're talking.
That we had Travis Pastrana, Kevin Windham, and then there was another dude. Was it Tortelli? Might have been Tortelli.
It might have been Tortelli that year, yeah.
Yep, I think it
was. Was it Tortelli? Yeah, it might have been. So Blue Buffalo, or not Blue, Sobe was like, dude, we can get Travis Pastrana? I'm like, yeah. Sign us up. So that worked out really cool. That was only a 2-year deal because what happened was Sobe ended up selling the Coca-Cola for like $500 million.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Right?
I remember the Sobe hookup. He used to show up at every NEMX race the first couple of years, and you just had cases for us. Yeah.
God, it was so cool. I take the box truck down to Sobe in Norwalk, just load it up. Cool.
You would roll in like Southwick and be like, whatever you guys want, man. Just
grab it,
Yep. You always see a whole shot awards. Everyone got a trophy, got a case of Sobe.
That's awesome.
Well, they did. You laughed, Chuck, because they did. We had tons of it. I mean,
we would buy that stuff all the time. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and then it just snowballed, and then that kind of faded out. I just kept doing my thing, always knowing one day it's gonna pop, and then trying to work it, get people, riders, but nobody, it's like the riders are just, man, for the lack of a better word, stupid.
But we love them. We love them.
No, I do. I'm a rider myself, but I mean, they don't understand the value of marketing.
Right.
It's me. Like now, you give them something. Next week, they don't know who you are.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this, John, years back about it. It's kind of like NASCAR. NASCAR's got these great billboards going around the track, roundy round. We don't have that with motocross, and that's the big. It's so tough to get sponsors exposure. So.
Well, yeah, and then when you finally get it, it's like the riders are more. They think too small. In our sport, you got to model yourself after like Brian Deegan and Travis. Travis won a championship, but Deegan never did. But Deegan marketed himself. It's like the WF. You got to create a brand and run with it.
Yeah, and you follow this kid online now too. So Danger Boy. Oh my God, it's incredible what he's doing.
I'm watching that kid. He flies, man. He's ripping.
Oh, he is. Yep.
So then I just got aggravated, just waiting this and that, whatever. So I ended up hooking up with Blue Buffalo. Cool thing is those were the guys that owned Sobe.
What are the odds? I didn't know that. I just learned something new.
And then they were like, you know what? I think right now it's a good fit. And let me tell you, it was a great fit. You know, it was a 3-year deal. They just sold to General Mills for $8.8 billion.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
No, right, man? So once it got corporate, it changed. The whole format changed up there. Before, it was more of a grassroots company, and it was easier to get things done. And once that all happened, it was just logistically, it's, you know, whatever. It's a bit of a nightmare dealing with big corporate like that, you know?
Well, I work for big corporate. I know what it's like.
You know what it's like. Exactly. So when you're able to do that, you got to treasure it. And so, I mean, hey, dude, the cool thing is I created my own product. I sold advertising on it, and I created a race team. And we did the West Coast, the East Coast, and all of the outdoor nationals.
Yeah, how
and
cool
I
is
got some
that?
top 10 supercrosses, man,
Yeah, you
and
did.
stuff like
Yeah, you
that.
did.
So, hey,
Yep.
I thought I was pretty pumped, man. I'm pretty
Yeah.
psyched.
That's cool.
And I'll be honest, John. I mean, it's cool. Like every time I see it, I'm like, dude, I know the guy personally that does that. It's pretty cool, you know.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool.
I remember a few years ago with Blue Buffalo. I mean, I saw you guys at Unadilla, and we happened to be in the pits, and I walked up, and I mean, we didn't know each other at all. And I'm looking at the bikes, and I think I said hello to you, and I was like, these things are so cool. And I mean, you told me a lot about it and stuff. And then here we are, like, 4 or 5 years later, and it's like, we got John Slater.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like we're doing this by accident, Jim. We've talked about
Totally.
by accident productions.
Totally.
So it's kind of.
I mean, look how cool the technology is nowadays. Look what we're able to do, right?
Is it wild? Yeah, I mean, we got 22 people watching right now. It's pretty wild.
That's what it says, but how many, in the
It gets
different
shared out.
platforms?
Yeah, by
it gets
tomorrow
shared
morning,
out.
there'll be over 2,000 views. So,
Yep.
And I tell, like, when I was with Yamaha and telling all these guys, I told everybody, it's like, listen, when we're out in California, I told some of my riders, like, listen, go ride some local events, make some money during the week and stuff. And they're like, there's no racing in California anymore. Like back in the day when I was growing up, that's all it was, right? California.
Have night races.
Right? There's nothing out there anymore. And I got to tell you, the tracks, they're really aren't that good. I mean, hard packed freaking desert. I mean, basically.
Well, it's kind of funny because New England now is kind of the polar opposite. We've got all kinds of riding opportunities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think about it, back 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. You could only race. There was no all the tracks were closed. You had to go mile standish, ride illegally, and then it's. But now it's like we got Wareham,
right?
We got MX23, we got all these tracks open.
You look at it, and most of these places, when they don't have an event, they're open for practice. So, I mean, there's guys that's all we do is we just go out and ride. Yeah. Matter of fact, I talked to a couple of guys.
Jake says the majority of his business is weekend riders.
Tony said the same thing at one point. But these guys just want to ride their dirt bikes, and if it, like when we were all kids, you had to go to that sand pit. You didn't ride in the summertime all that much because it was brutal.
Yeah, hot, it was special to get to ride on a track. Out of practice. So it was very rare. That's like NEMX. We used to ride the tracks the day before.
Yeah,
we would show up and ride like the night before. And like we
that would be cool.
We went up Derby on Friday nights, and everybody told the guy, I'm like, well, I already paid for the track. I'm like, can I ride it? He goes, I'm not grooming it again. I'm like, we don't care.
We don't care exactly.
Rick was there. He rode it with me. Oh yeah, there was like it was great too. We had like maybe 20 people. We went there and rip motos the night before. It was great.
This actually guys that have said this is all they want to do is they just want to ride their dirt bikes and they want to get out, go to a track and turn some laps. And you know what? I would say probably a good half of those they end up racing again.
Yeah, they do.
So
you know what? You can ride all you want. And I don't like racing so much anymore, but there's nothing like a gate drop. Man,
I know.
Man, it just it's so cool. As long as you keep stuff in perspective, like, hey, what?
You see, John, that's why I picked up the 500 AF because I figure if I get in the gate drop, I'm guaranteed a hole shot. That's the only reason why I bought it. We all know it's your only chance to pass 42 riders in one shot.
Unless you line up against John Levesque in the KX450.
So I'm just taking them out.
Well, getting back to
don't watch it. You watch this tomorrow.
The New England market in motocross in the whole United States of America is the largest demographic of riders. And this is where the money is. You go out other places, you ain't getting the draw that you're getting around here. So for marketing, and we'll go back to my product, this is where you want to market your name, your company. And I was talking to Jim earlier, and part of my company is to show people how you can create a business of racing motocross and write it off. I mean, it's legit. It's real. And you need some signage. And And by doing so, if you got a roofing company, an electrical company, and even if you don't have a company, you could start a company like a race team. And then if you're someone you know owns an electrical company or whatever, and they give you $3, $4, $5, $1,000, whatever the number is, that's a business. So now you're able to. When I went racing, I was getting paid to go racing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the way I look at it. And that's why I think we're trying to educate guys now to do the same thing. A lot of these parents have their own companies, and they're spending the money to go racing. You might as well be using it to sell. Now, people could say, well, you can't do it. Well, there was an article in Motocross Action a while back. You can look it up, and I have it on my decks that I send out. There was a guy that owned a construction company. I forget, it was like up in Oregon or somewhere. And he was writing it off because he was sending his kid to California and all this. The IRS, like, you can't do this. Well, he sued the IRS. The judge said, yes, he can, because he's taking his company and he wants to franchise it.
Yeah.
He wants to spread it all over the country. So they're like, all right, well, yeah, I guess you can. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that you can do to help offset your racing is what I'm getting at.
Oh, most definitely.
Absolutely there is. And something with everything. I mean, if you've got a business, there's no reason why you shouldn't have your business name on your race trailer.
Right. And I mean, and even guys that just go out and do some riding. If you got a lot of people that follow you and you're an influencer, do the same thing. Do the same thing.
Yep.
Absolutely.
People help you out. I mean, just look at some of the stuff that we got going on now. It's amazing how it's come from.
I even get free meals now.
I've got.
I got a free coffee and a bagel a few weeks ago. Some guy online, he bought me a coffee, and I walk in and goes, I know who you are. You're that guy from the last lap. And I was like, yeah, that's me. So,
right on, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
See, it pays. It pays to be a star, Jim.
It definitely does. It definitely does. So who do you got now? I know you're working with the Dyno Liners guys.
Yeah, I'm working with Ray at Dyno Liners. He does waterproofing of bridges.
Yeah.
He's a by himself. He's out of New York State, and he just won the plus 50 last year up at MSC. I think 2 years in a row now. And he's a huge enthusiast. He loves the skins. He bought a bunch for his bike and all that. And then we were helping out the EBR team for Supercross. So I'm working with him, and then he works with a company called Hog Technologies, which they're based out of Florida.
Yep.
And they actually design the trucks and build the trucks that do a lot of the waterproofing and all that kind of stuff. So it was a cool little thing that we put together there. Small scale, maybe we'll see how it plays out. We talked about maybe doing a 250 East Coast team. So we'll see how that plays out. I have no idea.
Well, I know you help out the old men that used to race too, because I'm running one of those Slater Shields on the front of my bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, the pictures look awesome. I obviously I'm partial, but it looks cool, man. It looks cool. It's protection too on the flip side.
But John, I'm not gonna lie, he's used the excuse that the wind resistance has slowed him down dramatically. I said, no, that's old age. That's old age slowing you down. But he wants to blame you. He's trying to blame you.
Yeah.
Well,
wouldn't be the first time.
As I mentioned when I was talking to John earlier on the phone, I said the cool part about it is it's definitely noticeable. I mean, Paul Buckley used that picture for Southwick there a couple weeks ago for the upcoming race, and one of the comments was from someone that said, "Wow, that plate's cool. I've never seen a plate with knuckle guards like that." And it's like, and I remember talking to you, John, a few weeks ago, and we were discussing it, and you were telling me how you had gone out to Broome Tioga. And it's like you could just hear the rocks bouncing off of it, and you're thinking, "Man, that would have been my fingers."
Yeah, I remember. I wish I had one of those back when we used to race Eagle Bridge. Eagle Bridge has this.
Oh man!
Oh, you rode Eagle Bridge, right, John? So nasty. I mean, fun track though. Just like brutal, like fast.
Yep.
I'm talking like 60-mile-an-hour wide open straightaways.
That's
you'd
crazy.
be catching the shale off you. I mean, you would get impaled in your chest protector.
and
we did Vegas Supercross. Maybe was it 3 years ago? It was like biblical rains out there.
Yes, I remember
horrible.
that.
Yep.
Horrible. And the guys that I had Michael Lieben and Josh Cartwright.
Yep.
They ran the field, and when they came back, there was no mud on their grips.
That's important too.
Crazy.
That
Yeah,
is
it is.
important.
Yeah.
Like
dry hands, dry control is a key.
yeah, and you know what I could say? They're even though they're very protective, they're very flexible too. I tested that theory this weekend up at 207. If anybody watches my Instagram posts, that video's up.
Sample, did you?
I had the little bit of Chase and Leo photo and his son Troy. And I was coming into a corner, and the front end just went out, and you hear my as I hit the ground. I made an old man noise.
I tell you, it helped me a couple times. Like I fell, and on my left side, on the clutch side, and the shield bent right into the clutch lever, and it held it up against the handlebar. So the bike didn't fall. So I was able to just grab it, pick the bike up. And that was before electric start,
Yep. And it doesn't stay there. It pops right back to its normal shape.
Electric start. Here I am with a 500. What was I thinking?
You were thinking whole shot. You were thinking everybody's going to see you when that thing fires up. That's what you were thinking.
You like the attention too. We just idle it. I don't have to ride it. Just let it idle on the stand.
Just fire that thing up, and heads turn, and people come running.
Yeah.
Is that a CR500 motor in that?
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah.
Does that thing vibrate? What's it?
A little bit.
It actually. I rode it, John. It wasn't as bad as you would have anticipated out of a 500, especially in an aluminum frame.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But that's a true life service Honda.
Yep.
So it's like I'm sure they put a couple of vibration dampers and stuff in when they make the adjustments to the frame.
Absolutely.
But it's so much fun.
And it feels like a stock bike. It feels like a CR250 just with a little more power.
A little. Let's just say a little.
Those guys did quality work though, man. That
oh yeah.
And they closed down for a while and they just reopened, as a matter of fact.
Did they?
Yeah, it's called built.com, and they're now selling they're not selling complete bikes, they're selling kits. So you can buy their bike in a kit and source your own motor and put it together on your own.
That's awesome.
Now I saw some company building CR500 motors.
Yes, that's the company. That's built.com. It's AJ, the guy that started Service Honda. He left Service Honda and started his own company, and that's what he's doing now, making his own motors and his own kits.
That's
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
It is cool. It is cool. Isn't it? Anytime you say Service 500, everyone makes that grunt. Exactly.
Yeah. Tool time, Tim.
Oh my God. We experienced it at MX23.
We saw that.
We were one of a few guys that do the two stroke. And we fired it up in about what? We're at Southwick. And all of a sudden, 4 or 5 people came out. They're like, "We heard the big block start. Where is it?"
That's awesome.
People come
That's
out.
That's a man's bike, dude.
Yep, it's
man's
cool.
bike right there.
Yep, yeah, it's a lot of fun to ride too. It's. I mean, I don't ride a lot. It's probably not the bike of choice, but it's a fun bike. It makes me giggle.
Hey, you took it out this week. You took it out this weekend.
I did. I spent and I ate a water pump too. So I got a little water pump in it.
That's all right. We got a couple weeks before we go up to Derby.
Yep, we do.
So what do you got for future plans, John? I know we touched a little bit on a couple of things and a little bit about sponsors and possible teams and stuff like that. Anything interesting going on?
I got a couple packages that I'm working on for a couple customers. I'll see how that plays out. It's so hard to pull in sponsors. So when you do, it's cool. But having a pretty good track record of pulling big time sponsors in, it helps me out. So I hooked up with a couple companies down in the city, marketing companies, advertising companies, and working with them because I'm trying to go a different route where we can actually. So say there's 10 races, say Supercross, 250 outdoor or Supercross, let's call it. There's 9 races. You can do kind of like NASCAR. So if you want to just spend $5,000 and have this race, you want Daytona, it's $5,000. You want Indianapolis, it's $5,000. So it doesn't have to be one big title sponsor for the whole series.
Yeah,
it could be individual title sponsors for individual races. So there's different programs that we can put together, and that, and then I just bought a new plastics machine, so I'm able to actually control all of my manufacturing in-house. Before I had to outsource it, and the guy that I was using, he's like 80 years old now. He's getting ready to retire, and so I got to do all my own stuff now, which is good. It's better for me, actually.
Well, and you got options for different bikes, different manufacturers too.
Well, that's it. Like right now, I concentrated on the Yamaha. The Slater Shield will fit any bike. That's pretty
Yep.
retro. Little cutting here and there for the brake line.
Yep.
The skins are definitely designed for each bike. So I did the Yamaha because that's why I was sponsored by Yamaha.
Yep.
And that was the other good thing is over the years, none of the manufacturers wanted all their bikes to look stock.
Right.
So I ended up getting hold of Keith McCarty. And being a Yamaha guy, I was like, I got to go with Yamahas, you know? So
Yeah.
I ended up getting a hold of Keith McCarty, and I told him, hey, I just pulled in a big sponsor. Would Yamaha be interested? He was, yeah, absolutely. So put that whole deal together. Mm-hmm. So Yamaha signed off on running Slaterskins. So bingo, that was the first major manufacturer to say, okay, we don't care what our bikes really look like. Blue, you know, they told me you got to have blue on it and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, no problem.
Yeah, but you could fit, like we talked earlier, you could fit all those other logos on it, you know?
Well, look at the bike behind you guys right now. I don't know with the green screen. Look how big that blue Buffalo logo is.
That's why I put it up there. Awesome. It looks pretty cool. Yeah. Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's what it's about. Personally.
Well, like we were talking to shops. You know, you watch somebody riding out there, and John brought this point up. You don't know what shop they're riding out of, what shop they bought the bikes for. You know, back when we were younger, everybody wore a shirt that was from their shop, so you knew who rode out of what shops. But now, because everybody wants their gear to match, there's no more shop shirts. There's none of that stuff. And with things like this, you can put the logos right on the side of your bike.
Maybe back in the day, you had JoJo with the purple, Bencourt shirt on.
Iconic. Yep. Iconic. You knew it. I mean,
you knew it was JoJo, right? Or you knew it was Bencourt's.
Right. I mean, I was racing out of Midtown Kawasaki, so you knew you had the green sleeves with the blue and white checkers on them. You know.
So you got to get John to order up some shirts and make that. You can
make Ronnie's. We could make a comeback.
That's it.
Everything comes back around.
That's right.
We'll make the shop.
Funny. The jerseys. The first jerseys that come to my mind are New Haven Suzuki. They were green and yellow, and yeah, everybody had a New Haven Suzuki shirt. You know, Dave was he just passed away, unfortunately, Chief from New Haven, and recently. But yeah, that was cool. Benton courts, like you're saying. Yeah. But nowadays, like, I was talking to Jim earlier. It's like these gear companies are smart. The riders are stupid. You know, you're gonna get like FXR. Oh, they're gonna hook me up with some gear. All right, that's cool. But look at the advertising they're getting by giving you $100, $200 worth of stuff. And you think you're sponsored. Well, look at me go. I got free gear. Yeah, big deal. I'd rather buy my gear, pull in a sponsor, and put my logo on that jersey.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's the same for all of them.
You're right. Yeah. You get someone to give you a few $1,000s to go racing with and put their name on it. You're a lot better off.
Yeah. And you can do that. There's a lot of companies. Listen, you can't think like other people think. You got to think outside the box. And there's a lot of people that got money. And a lot of people, come tax time, they're looking to get rid of money so they don't have to pay Uncle Sam.
That's right. Right. All about the write-off.
So you got to write shit off. You got to give this, give it to charity, give it here, give it there. So if you put your package together and you got your stuff, you can go to local companies and say, hey, I mean, there's got to be local companies around Southwick that would be interested in having a rider at Southwick. Even if they gave you entry fee money, whatever your entry fee, $100.
Anything. Right.
So if you do the fall series, how many races in the fall series? There 10, 12, 15, whatever it is.
Yeah, probably about 15.
Yeah.
Say 15. So if you went to them and say, hey, I need $100 a race, that's $1,500.
There you go.
Chances are you're probably going to end up getting that 1,500, whether it's 300 from this guy, 300 from them, 200 from them. Yeah. The thing is, you just got to go do it. You got to market. You got to get it and be a salesman.
It's funny you bring that up, John, because the other part of it too is it's not just putting the gear on; it's also representing. It's
right.
Speaking well. It's not acting like a moron in the pits. Don't do stupid things.
Yeah.
It's carry yourself like a professional. And I think we're all old enough here. We've seen the good and the bad.
I think the biggest misconception with people and sponsors is that the sponsor isn't representing you. and giving you the free
That's
stuff,
right.
you're representing the sponsor.
That's correct.
And it's like, I think that's somewhere the lines are blurred, and a lot of the riders don't
They feel
remember
entitled.
that.
It's like entitlement.
Yeah,
they feel like
entitled.
they're entitled.
Well, what gear are you riding this year? Are they giving it to you?
Yeah.
It's like, well, why are they giving it to you?
Yeah.
What?
It's a great conversation, because you know what I mean. I think it's like the monkey, the elephant in the room. It's
Right.
like no one wants to address it. It's true.
Right.
It's totally true.
And that's something that I think everybody, especially the younger riders as they're advancing, they need to realize is that they represent the sponsor, not the other way around.
Yeah, and John brings up a good point. Like, everyone's so focused on like the industry, like itself.
Mhm.
Think about the non-industry sponsors, how you pull them in, like
Right.
Coca-Cola, Sobe Beverages, all these, Blue Buffalo, all these companies that John's worked with. I mean, this is,
Yep.
I mean, it's not even scratching the surface. I mean, just think about it, how much bigger it is. And like you said, I mean, a couple of grand from one of these big companies is nothing. But if you put together a good sponsorship package, what can you do for that sponsor?
Right.
You're off and running.
Yep.
And it's funny is like, because I'm in the advertising demographic business. I deal with Feld and MX Sport and Joyce Julius, and it's always our sports 18 to 34 demographic. That's BS. That is so.
Our demographic is 34 to 55.
Yeah,
that's more for
absolutely,
it.
Dave. Absolutely. Yep. And those are the guys cutting the checks for
That's right.
Junior for his $10,000 motorcycle.
Exactly
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you want to sell your Xbox and all that other stuff, you're going to market to the 18-year-old or whatever. I don't even know. I don't play the stuff, so I really don't know how old they are. But if you're a gamer, it's younger.
But that's true, yeah.
Your demographic is the old man who used to race. Here is
Yep.
our demographic. There's
Right.
more guys in the vet class than any other freaking class out there. I'd much rather sponsor you guys than sponsor some kid riding a 250 A class.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not into rap and any of that kind of music. And when I see these videos and they got all that crap playing, I shut it right off. I shut it right. I'm like, I don't want to hear this.
But you watch the last lap, so we're doing something right.
I love the last lap.
We're the old guys.
Yeah.
So the demographic range is definitely an older, and I tell people this all the time, motocross is the biggest sport on the planet. You're crazy, NASCAR or football. I was like, well, I don't know. Is there any NASCAR in Paraguay or
Right.
Asia or Russia? Well, there's motocross. What about, you're right? So baseball, there's not really baseball over in Europe.
Nope.
Not that I know of, not.
Cricket, I think. No,
If it is, it's not that big.
No.
Well, that's my point. Where you motocross in the States, all over the world,
All over the
Australia, Europe, you're right. Yep.
it's the biggest sport going, and it's the most accessible.
Soccer is very universal. Yep.
Soccer, yeah, totally. I mean, and with motocross though, it's one of those things too where you don't need to be on a team. You don't need to. I mean, you do it yourself. It's
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's
an individual.
Yeah.
There's no trying out for the team and see if you can make it.
Well, you go to NESC event. What are they pulling? 400 riders?
Yeah.
400 entries. So
Yeah,
it's
probably about that.
150 riders maybe.
Yeah.
Do a J Day. Right?
Yeah. Oh my God, 1,200 riders.
Yeah.
But go to a little soccer game in town. How many people are there?
That's right.
Right. Oh, Johnny's baseball game. How many people are there?
Right. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned Jaden too, because they had their weekend up at Heman's this weekend. I heard somebody told me they had 3,000 people up there. Granted, not all riders, but from the looks of the pictures, it's like those guys are pulling some serious attendance figures.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Now, how cool would it be if you had the guys out there riding? They don't even have to be the top guys. It could be anybody out there advertising the bike with a logo on there. People are seeing that hands-on.
Right.
And, when you do the Supercross stuff, it's always the pit presence. They always sell the pit presence, right?
Yep.
Which is cool. Don't get me wrong. But how many people are walking through the pits? 15,000, 20,000 maybe?
Right.
And when you're walking through the pits, I know I'm jaded, and I'm sure you guys are too. It's like, you see the KTM truck? Oh, shit, It's the same truck I saw last year.
Yep.
Right? And it's just for the little kids. And before you know it, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't even remember what the hell I looked at in the pit. But I know that bike out on the track, I remember that.
You remember the performance. You remember seeing it.
Yeah, and the demographic is like, the older dudes like us, we're starting to get a little bit more tech savvy, obviously. Well, Dave, you're in the biz.
Dave's bringing us along, John.
Exactly.
You guys are riding my coattails here.
Well, thank you. So when we're watching that stuff on TV, and all of a sudden you're like, what? Like, it happened to me several times when I'm in the pit with the Blue Buffalo, dude. I had people coming to me from Italy, Australia. Hey, mate, I saw stuff on TV. I had to come and see it firsthand.
Dude, hey,
That's
I'm
awesome.
guilty of that. Like I said, when I saw you at Unadilla a few years ago, I mean, we had no idea. I knew who you were and stuff, and I came up just to say hi and to see the bikes, and because I wanted to see them.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, same thing. When I first met John 20 years ago with EMX, I knew him from the MXA days and him having cover bikes. John showed up, and I had no idea he was a local guy. I didn't know he was right from Milford, Connecticut, and we've been friends ever since. So which is cool.
It's awesome that you mentioned that logo thing, because I'll give you a quick example. Just our group alone with the hashtag, the old men that used to race. I took and had that blown up big and put it on the sides of my bike this year. And granted, it takes up most of the KTM radiator wings and stuff. But I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh my God, I just started following you," that type of thing.
Cool.
And now you Google search that with the hashtag old men that used to race, and we own like the first 6 or 7 pages in the Google search just from that hashtag.
Yep. And same with the Northeast MX. We own that one now.
It's
it was kind of funny when we joined up, 4 months ago?
Yep.
The amount of followers we've gotten, and we've also learned some tricks with social media along the way. It's been crazy.
But emblems, advertising, putting your stuff out there for people to see it. It's unbelievable. People just come up and be like, "I saw you guys. Dunkin' Donuts for you. For me, it's the bike stuff like that." But it's crazy.
It is. It's nuts.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's exciting, and it just shows you the power of advertising and marketing. Right, and it works. So, and if you take it and you run with it, you can prosper. And if you don't, well, then you're not doing it. So I mean, and it comes down to 2 things too. It's like, are you a recreational guy where you just go in there and have fun or whatever, or are you going to take it a little bit serious and you're still going anyhow, but you want to. You don't want to have the money coming out of your own pocket. You'd rather have the money coming from somebody else so you can really have a good time. Right?
Sure.
Right.
Because this stuff is a money pit. There's no getting around it.
Yep.
That's true.
I'm looking at that photo of the bike that you got in the green screen. And behind that, I got my 75 YZ250. And
awesome.
I don't know if you can see it, but it was funny because I used to.
Your head, man. I want to get just the bike in the photo. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's off to the left, and it was cool because I would bring that with me. So you had the new futuristic bike, right? Yep. YZ, and then I had the old 75, which was the first year of the monoshock.
That's cool.
So we showing the 2, and Keith McCarty came over, and this was in Dallas for the first Supercross that I did was in Dallas. And we had that, and Yamaha came over to me, and I said, "Well, what do you think, guys?" And they're like, "Slater, John, you delivered. You said what you were going to do, and you did it."
That's
and
awesome.
I had that bike there, and I had Keith McCarty sign it, and he signed that. Oh, my God. So then I'm at Daytona, and I got the bike out front, and who comes walking by but Tom White? And I'm like,
"Oh, that's cool." Yeah, White Brothers Racing.
I stopped and I talked to Mr. White for like I don't know, it seemed like an eternity. It was probably a half an hour. And he told me, he's like, "This is the bike here that got me in business." And he started talking to me. We became friends. We stayed together on Facebook and Instagram, on Instant Message. Unfortunately, he has since passed.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I met Marty Smith. I'll give you a really cool story. I idolized Bob Hanna growing up, right? He was my guy. So I met him a couple times when I was a young kid with photos. So I was going through a bunch of stuff. I did book reports on the dude and everything. So I found all this stuff that I had, and I sent it over to Keith McCarty. And I was like, "Hey, if it wasn't for Bob, I wouldn't be doing this right now," and all this kind of stuff. It was a really heartfelt letter I sent, or email. Well, needless to say, a few days later, I get a phone call. Like, Idaho? Who the fuck's calling me from Idaho? So I don't answer. I thought it was, freaking telemarketers or something. I don't even answer. So somebody leaves a voicemail. "Yeah, hi. looking for John Slater. I'm like, man, this sounds like Hannah. Hey, as Hannah calls me up, ripping me up, man. Hey, I think you owe me some money, he says. I'm the one that got you in business and all that. Oh my God, he ripped me up. I couldn't call him back, man. You know? Oh my God. I was like, I saved the voicemail, you know. So I was so pumped up. Hannah calling me up, breaking my balls. I loved it, man.
That's priceless.
That's awesome.
And it's cool because like I talk all the old timers, you know, like Marty Smith. I remember talking to Marty. He's like, hey, how was that RC 500? How'd you like that? Oh, and then he talks to me all about the 500. I talked to Glover. Brock, I was like, hey, Brock, you know, those 490s when you were beating Bailey. Oh, yeah, and they would ping and we had to redetonate. And, oh, man, it was so cool when you talk to guys, you know, because that's the era I grew up in.
Yep.
And idolized and watched those guys. And, you know, you get to cycle news every Monday. Who did what?
Yeah.
So
right?
now,
Remember, Jim?
now, John, I got to ask because I've got a couple of favorite bikes that you've put your skins on. My two personal, I love the split fire bike you built, like the KX, looked really sharp, and I also like the YZ, the McGrath bike you built. That one looked really cool with the Mazda logo on the side.
Oh yeah.
Now, what's your personal fave? I mean, you don't have to go with one, but what are like your top picks? Those are my two top picks.
I'd have to agree. Me too.
Yeah, those just they popped.
Yep.
So.
I tell you, man, that Mazda bike. That was cool. It made the cover of Motocross Actions. That's super cool.
Oh, yeah.
The bike that I did was silver and black. That was really nice looking. Yeah, I would definitely probably say the Mazda, but they're all cool. Like the recent one I just did with the dyno liners with the big dinosaur and everything on it.
I saw that. I was going to throw that one up, but I like the blue Buffalo. The blue contrast looked cool, so I threw that one on the green screen. Yeah,
and you know what's weird is like I get so jazzed up, and it's like, and I create them, and then I'm like, I'm over it. Next,
shiny object.
That's that motocross.
Oh,
that's
totally.
that motocrosser in you.
Yeah, you know, it's like, all right, cool.
It changed at all. It's like, oh my God.
Yep. I'm over it. I love that. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna use that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. I always like thinking of it. Like I was talking to Jim today about some logos, and in my mind, I'm already creating the look. You know, so now I get all jazzed up. Like I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see.
We need some Slater swag. We need some shirts. So everyone hook us up. We need some shirts, John.
All right, we're gonna have to put this together.
All right.
Well, I know it's been probably a little over an hour now.
Hour.
Believe it or not, how fast it goes. So,
right, cool.
But
we need to work together here. We'll start putting some programs together and try to help out all the old timers that used to ride. You know, and all the like Ronnie's Cycle and all the cycle shops. You know, we'll start offering a package if these guys want to put anything on their bikes, because there's no reason some of these dealerships shouldn't be having some of their guys run this stuff. And, you know, even to do a contingency program too, where, you know, you work something out with the dealers and they give X amount of percentage off parts or whatever. Because you know how the parts business, you know how that is, Jim, right?
I know how that goes. Oh, believe me, I know that very well.
But at least if you got my logo on that motorcycle and if you end up being a flake, well, hey, you know what? I still got my advertising, so it worked out for me.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? People, riders come and go. So but the businesses usually try to stay for a long period of time. And all these motocross dudes got jaded over the years because everybody's like, hey, I know a lot of people. Yeah, well, so do I.
That's true.
And a lot of guys are coming back too. You know, it's kind of money. The old guys have got dough.
The old guys are the ones that got the money. They're the ones that have to buy the bikes for the younger guys.
The cost of bikes now. We've talked about this. The cost of bikes through the roof. So I don't know how the younger kids are affording it. I really don't.
It's easy to get credit sometimes.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Yep.
Right, and then all of a sudden, after the bike's like 4 months old, it's ratted out. They're like, man, this thing's hammered. So before you cut me off, John, you know, I got a good question for John, just because I want his opinion on this.
Go ahead.
Electric bike, John. So we talked about this probably third or fourth episode in. What's your opinion? I'm just curious because this is the future, man.
Dude, let me tell you something. We did an event down in Milford Riders this weekend. We camped out, and there was a guy down there with one of the Altas. And Joe Tate was ripping that Alta like nobody's business, man.
Yep.
I love it. I
You
freaking
know?
I love them. Now, granted, it's definitely not gonna take away from the combustion engine by any stretch.
Right.
But hey, man, I got 3.5 acres in my backyard and all hydraulic company.
I do too.
I'll
I used to be
ride
acres.
that bike all day long. I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's
We
great.
and I've talked about that. It's like we both live in subdevelopments. I'm like, I could put a track in my backyard. So,
And I could tell you, I actually rode an Alta, and the motor, it was phenomenal.
yeah. Did
Phenomenal.
it feel weird though being automatic because there's no shifting, right?
No.
So you just linear.
I
hit
just
the gas
jumped
and
on
go.
it and didn't really notice. But I mean, my
What about clutching in the corner? A clutch or no clutch?
no clutch.
No
But
clutch.
so here's the thing with that bike is I rode it up in New Hampshire, and you go into those corners, like you would start to drop down into the corner and you get back on the gas and your bike would want to stand straight up. You know, it wants to stand up. The electric bike doesn't do that. And the only thing I contributed it to was the fact that on a regular combustion engine, especially the bigger 4-strokes, you got both wheels as a gyro, but you also have your counter shaft is spinning as a gyro. And it fights against the wheels sometimes. But on the electric bike, you don't have that. You don't have that big mass in the middle spinning.
Right.
So you kind of like
easier.
Well, not so much that, but you just kind of let off the gas and let the bike start to fall, and then roll the gas back on, and it just stays at that angle and powers through that berm.
Interesting.
It was incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, there was 4 different maps on that thing. Like slow, whatever. Those guys are riding the 4th map. And you're right, Jim. With the 4-strokes, you got the counterbalancer. So counterbalance the gyro, which in a way it's kind of cool on a 4-stroke because you can control your corner when like I was at Binghamton, I don't know, Father's Day weekend, Chuck Markelon rented the track. Doug comes up, right? I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna try to stay with Doug. Yeah, well,
you tried that.
Didn't happen,
I failed miserably too.
He's coming through. I was coming in. I just got my 450. It was like the 3rd time on it. And I'm like coming in these ruts, and I'm clutching it, and the bike's wanting to stand up, just like what you're talking about.
Yep.
And then I watched Doug, and he was just like hits the corner, just brah,
oh yeah.
And then I started doing. I had so much arm pump, I couldn't even squeeze the clutch in anyhow. So I was like, I'm just using the throttle, and it was just so much smoother. But once you let off on the gas, the bike wants to stand right up on you.
Yep. So, yep. That's not the case with the electric bike.
Interesting.
Why? What's your take on it, Dave? You like it?
I do. I'm a technology guy, so I think it's cool. I mean, I agree with you though. I think the combustion engine is here to stay.
Yeah.
But I think in the next, I don't even want to say 2 years. I think in the next year, Honda's coming to market with this thing.
Well,
are they going to come to market?
I think they are. I mean, we previewed that. We
talked
saw the
about
bike.
it.
We
So,
talked about it. Yeah.
So here's my take, and because I work for Acura, which is an American Honda company, on the auto side, and electric technology right now, the biggest hurdle that they have is the actual materials for the battery, for the lithium. Because the lithium is it's a limited commodity and it's super expensive. So they got people testing materials, trying to make something that's a more cost-effective replacement.
We've talked about that. Once they drop that cost, it changes everything.
Yeah, once they drop the cost, you're going to see every single manufacturer jumping on board, cars, bikes, whatever.
Yep, you're right. Well, listen, before we wrap up, Gary Frink just put a really funny comment up. Gary says he should get sponsored by Milford Hospital. Poor Gary Frink, he's laid up with a bum ACL he just got operated on. Gary, we miss you, buddy. We're going to have to take the road show to Gary's house.
Well, that's the only way we're going to get. Well, now that we got this, we tested it with John. We can pull.
This is true.
We can pull Gary on.
He's got to wear the helmet.
He's got to wear the
helmet. Got to wear the helmet. So.
Yeah. So before we end it, John, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank myself because if it wasn't for me, I wouldn't be here.
Well, I'm going to thank you because
don't hurt your arm. Is your arm okay?
You're helping me.
Oh God!
No, I want to thank you guys, man, for sure. And it's cool catching up with Dave. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, I'm not even. Yeah, you sponsor Jim, but don't sponsor me. But that's okay. I'll bust your balls.
He told me you were afraid to ride that 500, so I was like, I didn't want to get involved.
It's a showpiece. We've talked about it. It comes out of the trailer. I put it on the stand and we idle it, and then we put it back in the trailer and go home.
More of the reason we need a shield on it. It won't get dirty.
There you go. Exactly.
There you go,
exactly. I want the full blown graphics and everything. And so
we'll work it out. We'll get it done.
No, that's awesome. No, good stuff, man. I love the show. I love what you're doing. And what's funny is I can't believe we're the old timers of the sport now.
We are. It's scary.
It is very scary when you think about it.
Yep. So,
it's scary and cool, but at the same time, a real quick story. You got time for a quick story?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. So back when I was growing up in the 70s, some of the top guys at Milford Riders were the top New England guys. Mel Ganchis was the top New England guy. 67, 68, won the 500 championship. Matter of fact, Jimmy Weiner used to look up to Mel, and so Mel Ganchis was one of them guys. He used to go to Grafton and Pepperell. So when the Euros came over, he would race. So he was racing Torsten Hallman, and Barry Higgins were racing Torsten Hallman. And now the way Mel tells it, he was beating Torsten Hallman the whole race until the last corner, and then Torsten passed him. So my brother and I are rewind. Back in 15. So I was like, hey, Wally, is that Barry Higgins out there? And Wally's like, I don't know, man. So I turned to my right, and there's Barry Higgins standing right next to me. I was like, no, Wally, there's Barry Higgins right here. So we start rapping with Barry, and I'm like, hey, Barry, we got some mutual friends. Mel Ganchis. He goes, Mel, wow, I haven't talked to Mel in like 45 years. What's he doing? Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, hey, he told me the story about him at Pepperell with Torsten Hallman, how he was beating him the whole race. And he's like, yeah, it's not the way I remember it, And then he's like, there was another dude out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Big guy. He's like, oh, John Scott. He goes, yeah, John Scott. So we got to talk. We talked for like an hour, and he was a great guy, super humble, the whole 9 yards. So in 16, I had the team up there. And Barry is going to get inducted to the Walk of Fame.
Yep.
So Mel comes up to hang out. So I take my brother. I say, hey, take the golf cart, grab Mel, and go over to Barry at the induction. Dude, Mel goes over there. Barry hadn't seen them guys like 45 whatever years, 50 years. He just gets done with his thing, and he just sees Mel, and dude, that was it. They hung out for like the rest of the day talking about yesteryear from the 60s, and in the plaque that Barry Higgins had, he's like, look, Mel, you see that roost? That's you. You had that killer hole shot. And that, so, I mean, it was cool because I was a young kid with Mel and Terry Barber and all those guys. And now we're the old guys of the sport.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's just like, what
we're the ambassadors of the sport now. That's what we are. Yeah.
Hey, we're still riding though, so whatever. I'm 55, 50 or 50, one or the other.
I'm 51. I never thought I'd be on a bike.
I'm staring 44 down the barrel.
You're a kid.
Oh, you're a youngin', really?
That's right. I mean, I started EMX. I was just a kid.
You were.
Everyone thought I was crazy. They said, "What are you, insane?" I said, "Yes, I am."
And you know what? We might be older, but we're still insane.
That's right.
Is NEMX still around?
They are, but their numbers are down, just like NESC across the board. There's too many orgs kind of cross competing and stepping on each other's toes. So that's a topic for another day. So.
Yeah.
NESC doesn't pay money, do they?
They're still paying, I think.
They still pay.
Yeah.
They still pay. I'm not sure how good it is. I know it was pretty rough in the late 80s and 90s because we didn't have such big gates on the expert class. But I guess it's better. And then contingencies. They have contingencies for different weekends. So
they do, yeah. And it's funny you bring up NEMX. When I started that, how we got a good following, we did 200% payback.
Oh yeah,
and the expert class.
Exactly.
That's how I got everyone to come on board. So I paid out.
Like MSC pays good money. Like Claverack pays per moto.
Oh yeah. Yep. I don't know if NESC pays that way. I've heard rumors that there are organizations around here doing that. That's
interesting. Before we go out, we got one last good question from River Cats. He says, "Where do you see the sport in 10 years?" That's interesting. 10 years is a far way out.
10 years is a far way out.
That's honestly, I mean, I from a media coverage, like you got to look at like X Games, like it's really kind of put it on TV more and more. Like back it wasn't before, and the coverage is getting better. But I think Slater's onto something still with the Slaterskins. Like it's got to get more.
It's got to get advertising.
It has to.
With the TV coverage that's building, I think now is the time, especially to get people on board.
It is, especially with social media too. Like we're proof of that. Like listen, there's so much more you can do with these tools that are out there. I mean, we're doing it.
We're doing it,
guys. If we can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and if the electric bikes come out within the 10-year frame, you're going to have a lot more riding in the condensed areas. So
absolutely, yeah. And if they get that price point right, if they can get those bikes down sub $6,000, it changes everything.
The game has changed. Exactly.
Yep, exactly. So
10, 12 grand.
Yeah. Yep. So, but anyway, John, we appreciate you coming on tonight. So it was a fun show. Definitely ran way over. You were right. So
that's all right. It's a good one. John has the stories. I absolutely love the California stories with Mitch.
I got more, man. I got some crazy stuff.
We'll have to have you on again, John. So we've already had a bunch of great guests. So people already want to come back on. So we'll have you back on probably towards the winter.
We gotta, well, next time you guys are doing, we should rent a track and just have a old timers race up there somewhere and just hang out.
We can do that.
Yeah,
we
definitely.
know people in low places.
We got people that
actually
we're building.
We'll go over to Milford. We'll just go to Milford Riders Club. We'll go do that.
There you go.
No problem.
There we go. See, done deal.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys.
All right, John. We'll see you, bud.
Thanks, John.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So that was John Slater. Slaterskins.
Yeah.
Good dude. I've known John a long time. You've known John. You've known of John.
I've known of John, and I met him within the last, I would say, couple of years. We've touched base on social media for the last couple of years, and we've met a few times. I got to meet him at a couple of different events, and he came to the museum for the reunion, hung out.
He's a good guy. I met him like 20 years ago, back when he had a license on. So that and Casey Moon, and I always was shop early on, and it's kind of funny because now I work in a plastic.
There you go. There you go.
Plus, I was doing the 3D printers.
Yep.
Came out, and him and I reconnected on that level. So
that's so cool.
So pretty cool.
That's where my logo came from. 3D printer. Someone gave it to me as a gift. And
there you go.
Like, look at that. Let's do this.
That's pretty cool. Yep.
You know.
But anyway, guys, we ran way over tonight. We're sorry. We apologize. We're an hour and 25 minutes in. So, but good show tonight.
Yes.
Jim, thank you. Good to be back in the studio.
Yeah, good to be back in the studio. Great to have John on. And
good to have John. Everything was smooth. Everything was good tonight. So I did know the TV guy. I don't know what happened to that. So we had that up and running. It was on the PowerPoint approach.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That happens.
No big deal. So, all right, guys. Listen, have a great night. We'll see you next Tuesday, 8 o'clock.